Thank you for keeping it KTN Prime. Now, the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, or NGCDF, has been declared unconstitutional by the courts. Now, the decision has sparked a national debate about the future of Constituency Development Fund and the role of parliamentarians in fund management. We'll be examining the implications of the court's order, the government's response, and the potential impact on communities across Kenya. We'll be having this conversation with Michael Were, who is in my extreme left and is an advocate and a governance expert, and Derek Barasa, Secretary for Policy and Strategy, Kenya African National Union. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
Yes, it is a conversation that continues to hit the newsrooms. It's a conversation that continues to affect Kenyans. Even today, the governors have responded to that. But as we dive into this, let's just listen into what Raila Odinga said during that burial in in Bondo for his aid. Let's just listen into that, and then we come have a conversation on it.
Parliament, Your Excellency, have no business concerning roads. The role of a member of parliament is clearly stated. Representation, legislation, and oversight. How do you oversight when you yourself are actually implementing? Those funds should go to the counties. And if the governor mess up with those, then we deal with the governors themselves. But they don't tie the hands of governors. And then MPs go and say, mimi ndo nimejenga barabara hii, mimi nimejenga barabara hii, nimejenga shule hii, niko hospitali hii, governor hajafanya chochote. Because the governor has not been given the money. Give the money to the governors. That devolution will work properly. And that's why I say that if they don't do it, we will make it an election subject.
Let matters to do with NGCDF be given to the governors. What's your response to that? Should these monies actually be given to the governors, or should it remain with members of the National Assembly?
Well, very many thanks for this being on the show today. And so the discussion in Bondo Siaya by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, I believe, is a very fertile argument. And I really would like to thank him on behalf of Kenyans. And as a party, as KANU, we do believe that it is very important to devolve development to the grassroots. It is very important to provide these monies to the people down there. In as much as it is just 2.5% of what the national government has in its kitty, it actually goes around to implement and satisfy 90% of the agenda that we see in development at the grassroots. So the conversation that the Right Honorable Prime Minister provides is a great one. Well, in the past, what we saw at the inception of this NGCDF, which was the CDF Act in 2003 in the Kibaki government, it was a way to provide development at the grassroots, because development had become something that was being used, was being weaponized. But through CDF, we were able to have equitable allocation. And every part of the country was able to have a fertile portion of the kitty, so that they can be able to provide healthcare, education, infrastructure, among many other things. And now this argument by the Right Honorable Prime Minister that the county government should be the one holding this money is ripe and proper because, one, devolution that came in 2013 was not one to just provide, devolve money. You get? It was there to devolve administration. And this administration is provided for in the Constitution. If you look at our Constitution, Article 95, Article 93, Article 129, particularly Article 130, that provides the principles of how the executive should run. Article 131 for the president. You do understand that there is one point where government, through its branches, the executive, has the authority to implement development. So the argument by the Right Honourable Prime Minister that this money should be given to the county government is one that I do believe. And let me just add one more thing. When you look at the CDF Act, the amendment as it was, there is word part, I can't remember the section, but it should be section 8, where 5% should be left in the kitty. I mean, after just for managing the kitty.
Yes, yes.
You get? And this is something that you're giving the MPs, and you require funding to manage that. The executive under the county government already has structures to manage money, so you do not have to spend more 5% to manage that money.
All right, let me go to Wakili. Now, Wakili, when you talk about these monies, the conversation that is existing, the members of the National Assembly are hell-bent on, we want this money so that we are able to provide. And for argument's sake, we have seen what NGCDF has done on the ground and the changes that it has brought. Talk about schools, hospitals, roads, you can name it all, even bursaries that have been given to kids. You can argue on that basis. But then again, we come to the role of legislature, and those are three things. It is to legislate, to represent, and to oversight. So as we speak in terms, because that is the argument as well that the Right Honourable Raila Odinga is bringing on board. From where I see it, Sharia, what the law says, do you think these monies should be domiciled with the governors, or should members of parliament as well, because they want to put it under law and enshrine it in the constitution, should they have a piece of this cake so they can work for the people?
First of all, Dennis, thank you for having me. Secondly, I would start by saying that before we have an argument about anything that happens, we should first of all understand that society is like a living animal. It keeps living, it changes, and many things happen. So the first question we are supposed to ask ourselves, how did we first come to have this CDF? What has it done? And what are the arguments that were brought before the court? First of all, you will understand that prior to the late President Mwai Kibaki coming to power, development was based at something I think called the district enforcement level. As at that time, it's for you to get development, it's squarely rested on like now ministries, state corporations, we had NGOs, and so on and so forth. So these CDF was brought around so that people can be able to get monies that come directly from the government and not at the masses of maybe like a cabinet secretary or something like that. Because if you look historically, this country, before the promulgation of the new constitution, if you had a cabinet secretary from your region or the president came from your region, there was a perception that development will come there. So for me, I think one of the issues that the court found that why the members of National Assembly should not be given the CDF, was for the reason that one, the court said that the purpose of members of the National Assembly is to oversight, okay, to legislate and to represent, correct? But in the same vein, another issue that arose was the issue of separation of powers.
Yes.
It was also there. But now, we also have to look at our constitution, Article 1, Sub-Article 4, about levels of government, the national government and the county governments. And on that, they've been clearly spelled out what the national government should do and the county government should do. But in my own opinion, I think that members of National Assembly should be given the CDF for a reason that in our society as we live, it's like the animal kingdom. When there is a share, there are those animals that are so strong and there are those animals that are not so strong. So let the ripple effect be felt down. But on one condition, let's go back to the people and ask the question, Are you satisfied with CDF or not?
You're bringing in a conversation that Raila Odinga himself has raised, which would be, we will make these an election matter. We will make these be part of the conversations we have as we head to the elections. And as we talk about, as you say, let members of parliament have a piece of this cake because we are in an animal kingdom.
Correct.
It's okay, it's cool. But there is what the law says, the roles and a place of a member of a National Assembly, which is to represent, to oversight, and to do what?
Represent.
And, and to legislate, right? So let's talk about what the law says, where we are, and members of parliament as well have responded to this. Do they have a case?
Well, they do have a case, and we've seen a judicial precedent. Just last year, I think in September, we had a great hearing the petition was by Gikonyo. And
petition 178, I think,
yeah,
2016.
Yes. Yeah, so
Yeah,
the ruling was fair and it was made clear. And I think the court ruled about three or four things. Quintessentially, one was financial prudence, that if you look at it, it fails on many aspects of financial prudence. Number two, that it also fails on the principle of devolution that my friend Were was talking about here. The issue of devolution is something that our constitution has made it clear that we can only have two levels of government. So the position of the CDF, and like that particular petition, the ruling actually made it, was that it introduces a third level of government, which actually challenges the basic structure doctrine of this country.
Correct.
And now, you see, the issue of basic structure doctrine, and I just want to stop there. I'll mention the other two later in the argument. The issue of basic structure doctrine, just like it says, is the basic skeleton of our constitution. If you do lose that BSD, the basic structure doctrine, then you don't have our constitution. You have made it a piece of paper. And I think that was the position even in the David Ndi case, the BBI petition, and the Kesavananda case that I saw being cited very many times. So back to this issue, the issue of CDF, I think, is unjust. Why? Because it is an attempt to go back and challenge the position of the Constitution. Well, I think the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, was reading on the floor. I think he said the power is provided for under Article 256. That Parliament has a prerogative to navigate and make a constitutional amendment and all that.
Yes.
But just resounding the position of the Right Honourable Prime Minister, I think it is also very much prudent to understand the position of the people. I can assure you, as a matter of fact, if we made a referendum right now about the CDF, about 90% of the people would vote to keep it. But that's not the issue. My argument today is that the MPs, members of National Assembly, members of the Senate, do not deserve to manage this money.
All right.
This money should be left solely to the executive, and that should be the county and the wards.
And the national government.
Exactly.
All right. So, Wakili, now, there are these, what formed the ruling? Let me just go through them. Violation of the principle of separation of powers. That is according to the court argument that members of parliament should not be involved in managing funds meant for development projects, as this is the role of the executive branch, which one would argue is both the national and the county governments. And then there is the aspect of interference with the functions of the counties, where now, let's take, for example, Aseto, member of parliament for constituency 49. Let's use that, right? And I'm doing this road in this county. Whose role is that? Is it the county or is it the member of parliament's role?
What I said before is that CDF is a good thing. I'm a lawyer and I'm, I'm a stickler to the law. If it's not right, it's not right.
Yeah.
If it's right, it is right.
Is the NGCDF right for members of parliament?
As we speak, no.
As we speak, no.
As we speak,
so,
no.
Right Honourable Raila Odinga has a case and the court is right in the decision
yes,
it makes.
because when you look at our constitution, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, there is no single provision for CDF.
Yes.
Then you have to ask yourself a question. Why did National Assembly amend the CDF Act in 2013? The reason was so that that piece of legislation can fall in tandem with the Constitution the new constitution 2010. But now what they forgot is in the same constitution, there was no single provision for CDF. So that's why even the court went ahead and did what? And declared it unconstitutional.
Okay.
So what these gentlemen did, they just had to be a little bit clever and add the word NG.
National government.
National government.
National government.
So if you make it to be for national government, so what do you mean in strict sense? Does it mean that then you reallocate these monies to the national government, or the national government reallocates these monies to you? So for me, I would say that we need to go back to the people, okay? Have a constitutional question that will be put to the people,
okay,
and let the people decide
on whether you want NGCDF.
Exactly. If they want it, well and good. If they don't,
all right,
the people have spoken.
And I think because now we're talking about members of National Assembly who are center to this conversation, I think let's just play the responses by members of Parliament as they argued on the floor of the House on why they really need these monies.
Kenyans to stop the fears of allegation that NCDF can be taken to counties. We as members of Parliament, we are very clear. We are white as yolk. We are white as snow in our mind. We are going to enshrine CDF into the Constitution. And you are aware, I'm one of the proposers of that bill. I'm one of the drafters of the bill to be enshrined in the Constitution. I can tell you and assure you it will be enshrined in the Constitution through parliamentary process. Let me ask whoever is saying that this money should go to the counties. Are we devolving money to counties to be misused the way we can see money being misused? 10, 15 years of devolution, counties were entitled to make sure that at least every school have ECD classrooms. Show me, after 10 years, how many ECD classrooms they have done.
Tuko safi kama pamba. We are as white as a yolk. And we know how these monies get distributed, right? There is a committee that is formed in the constituency that oversees how this money is distributed and all that. But still we remain to a critical point where we say we remain as clean as yolk. But a guy, we know all these monies, not all members of Parliament can account to the last single cent on how it has been spent, which brings back the matter to do with oversight. So who oversights member of National Assembly with regard to CDF and how it's spent?
Now, let me just, thank you so much for that very important question. Just to re-echo your point, our Constitution in Article 95 reads and provides the roles of a member of Parliament. And these are actually exercised as per Schedule 4 of the Constitution. And it's clear that a parliamentarian through the Senate or National Assembly only has 3 roles. That is representation, oversight, and legislation. So the work of trying to scrutinize, of handling the executive function, actually skews away from those 3 particular constitutional factors. So the argument, let me give you an example. Grassroots projects at the county level have to be overseen by the Attorney General.
Yes.
So when the AG goes on ground and makes a survey on these projects, they are supposed to come back to Parliament. So we end up seeing that the role of the MP is that of a contractor, but also an analyzing the same works that they do. Let me tell you, in real sense, you cannot run a project and at the same time scrutinize it. And that's what the MPs want. If in any way I put a road today here, I cannot be the same person to go back and challenge the position of Attorney General that that road was satisfactory or it was by the budgetary requirement and all those things. So this whole position of MPs trying to play the role of government scrutiny, but at the same time also implementing projects, actually goes across to skew their relevant position as per Constitution in Article 95. So I just want to make it clear. I mean, he is a lawyer, and Wakili, I think you do understand what we call by separation of powers. John Locke in his, I think, two treatises of power makes it and demonstrates it that government must have 3 levels of 3 arms to run it. That's the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. But in the existence of all these, the legislature in any way cannot in any way do the job of the others.
The others, yes.
So what we see today, the MP is demanding, and he comes with all this superfluous language, whitest, no, whitest, whatever. Yeah. Yes, that is good for the literature. But in the real implementation of the agenda, they are actually drifting away from their political mandate. Okay.
Yeah.
For me...
Who oversights member of Parliament when they implement, then the AG comes, then the report comes back to them to again discuss?
Of course, the question would be, who has the ability to oversight a member of Parliament? It's zero. Why? Most of these people that are on those boards, the constituency development boards, they are people who get what we call political rewards, most of them. I campaign for you, you become a member of Parliament, you reward me with being a chair of the CDF. So for me, I think, one, if the CDF was to go back at the constituency level, we are supposed to appoint professionals to run it. Okay. Because I can tell you for sure, my teacher used to tell us during constitutional law classes that it is not how much power you check, it is about the person that wields the power.
I think let's take a short break on that note. We'll come back and continue with what now the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury responded in terms of, I have the money, I have to decide where I'm taking it, which begs the question, just how important, how critical is this NGCDF even national government as we said? See you after the break.